This is probably the most requested video I get on my Instagram and YouTube. So today we're going to do a 100,000 kilometer review of a LandRover Perentie. First of all, does it start? Every time. People saying Land Rovers are unreliable, haven't had a good Land Rover. So, we're up on the beach at the moment, and yeah, just going for a little cruise on a Saturday morning. What is it like driving a Perentie around all the time? You spend a lot of time in the car. I've done over 110,000 Ks in this car since owning it, and yeah, so I feel like I can finally give a proper review of what it's like, and if I've enjoyed it, what I'm going to do differently, what's worked on the car, what hasn't worked on the car, and kind of almost give a little of a buyer's guide to some of you out there who are thinking of maybe getting yourself a Perentie or a similar vehicle and want to know what it's really like. So I bought the Perentie when it was completely bone stock off an RSL club actually. I think that's the best way to do it. Start with a very stock or tastefully modified car, nothing crazy, because ultimately you want to tailor the car to your purpose. If you want to go touring it, you're going to set up a car completely different to if you want to go wheel the hardest tracks. Now, this car does a bit of both, so it's a compromise. Nothing on it is perfect for one job, but it's good enough where I can confidently live out this car for months and months at a time, and also drive some of the hardest tracks that you'd take a road registered car on in Australia. So from the driver's view, pretty agricultural, do not have much. Looking at the steering wheel, one mod I would definitely consider, if when you pick it up it doesn't have it, or your rig doesn't currently have it, is power steering. I drove this for probably about a year without power steering, and yeah, I was on 35s. It was doable. I definitely could make it work, but after a trip you'd definitely be feeling it, and yeah, definitely not as enjoyable now where you can just do whatever you want. Also, another thing about this, so we're in full drive at the moment, we're just coming out of here. Look how easy this is. And like that, we're out of full drive. On the move, don't have to take out a gear, nothing. I think this has honestly got the best full drive system I've ever used in a car before. When it's working, they can cause a little bit of grief if your vacuum solenoids play up, but got a maxi drive unit in here, and man, it's just instant. There's no electronics to go wrong. Something that drew me to the Perenties originally is just the simplicity of them. For example, I was driving down to Mandurah this morning and I noticed the speedo was jumping all over the place and then stopped working. If that happened in a modern car, you'd be like, Stroth, what do I do? Take to a dealership or take to a mechanic, put a scan tool on it, it's all electronic, it's probably a sensor or something. This, I know it's a cable, so first spot I looked was just pop the speedo cable out on the transmission, and to do that I didn't even have to get out of the driver's seat. I could literally do it sitting in the cab, under a few screws, and get access to it. Alright, so we're back off the beach run now. I'll show you how to get it out of low. Neutral. Pull that forward. So on the gear control, you've got low and high range on this one, and then your four-wheel drive in and outs just on that one there. In high, I mean, first gear, and we're off. Now, I wouldn't call a Perentie a quick car by any means, but once you fit a turbo to them, they respond well to just a mild tune, and you'll have plenty enough torque and plenty of power to keep up with regular traffic. I was a bit stressed. I never thought I'd turbo it. I'd be like, reliability's sake, but it honestly feels like you're working the motor less hard and you're letting it breathe. And with correct fueling and boost, there's plenty of cars that have been turboed and don't have any dramas with it. Keep your AJTs low and just, yeah, have some mechanical sympathy for it. But once you have a turbo, it's pretty hard not to drive with a lead foot, because it makes all the right noises. Alright, so the review continues. Come pack the Perentie with me. This is just to prove you don't need anything flash. I've travelled most of Australia with this here setup. It's just a bed folded up there. Cheapest fridge you can buy. Never had an issue with it. A few bags there, whatever. I usually just sit like that. And then underneath, mate, look at that for a drawer system. The back one's on a string, so you can pull it forward. That's all you need. So just proves you can go a very long way for very little and not waste your precious money on all the flash mods. Way prefer to waste it on fuel when you're on a trip instead of, yeah. I've got plenty of jobs to do in this shed. As you can see, diff housing there, whole list of things, but you know what? Prioritising going away for a few days instead of, yeah, sitting in the shed and working on cars. So let's see what we can find this little trip, eh? The next thing I probably want to touch on is the seating position, visibility, those kind of things. So as you can see, I've still got the original seats in this car. Some people complain about them, some don't. I think they're more than comfortable enough. I've done up to like 11, 12 hour driving days before and never had an issue, so maybe it's because I'm young, but yeah, there are other seat options out there, so if you're really worried about the seats, it's probably not a thing to not buy the car for. Moving on to driving position. Now I'm 6'2". I've got the seat pressed back as far as it goes, and I think it's quite an upright position, but I don't think it's too bad. You've got enough room to put your foot behind the clutch pedal if you want. It's not the worst. Again, defend Defenders, they're not the comfiest cars. You're a little bit close to this window, so you do find you have the window open and your hand hanging out of it most of the time. But apart from that, I don't think they're actually as bad as most people make them out to be from a comfort seating position. Now I'll move on to visibility. Super thin pillars, you can see plenty out the front. Not a super long nose, so you can see down over the front of it quite easily. Where this car does suck with visibility is anything over your shoulder. Obviously you can't see anything, so it's much like driving a panel van if you've driven one of those before. Just got to rely on the little circle mirrors a lot. And one thing I haven't done, but I would probably do in the future, is change this out for one of the digital mirrors, so it looks the same but just has a camera on the back, and then you get full vision out the back, which should be handy. Alright, so we've come to a bit of a sketchy looking river crossing. We've done the right thing this time. We've walked it, or most of the way to that little stump that's halfway in it. And the safest way to do that is, it's because I'm all out here solo, so I got the winch rope out, I ran it around that tree, and then so I could walk in holding onto the winch rope for something to, because in case I slipped over, I didn't want to end up down there with nothing to hold on to. So took that in, walked across to there. It's pretty shallow, but obviously there's a fair bit of flow to it, and it's on really slippery rock. So the line I'm going to take, I'm going to come in, I'm going to hug quite high up here. I'm pretty much going to point for that tree, and then at the last moment, when I have felt the car hasn't slid that way, then I'll turn in and aim for the exit. So yeah, just because you got to be careful. There's obviously been some logs put in here to stop this, but it's come out halfway, so bit of a high current spot. Anyway, we'll pack the winch up, and yeah, we'll keep on moving. I'll try and capture this on video for you. Not too much in the end. Pretty cruisy actually. Didn't even feel the car step sideways, so that's good. But especially in those rivers, the water's so dark, full of tannin. It's incredibly hard to tell if it's going to be 500 mil deep or it's going to be 1.5 meters deep. Because I got caught out on one the other day, and I had it. The water was up to the black part of that aerial, which is up on the window, and it was pretty scary. So always best to just take your time with those ones, go for a little walk if you're unsure. Okay, so the next one I want to touch on is a bit about my background. I was originally a bike mechanic, and I'm now a fully qualified marine engineer. And I think to actually enjoy this car, you've got to come from or be willing to learn some kind of mechanical background. And what I mean about that is having some mechanical knowledge of how stuff works. So when you press on the clutch, what is actually moving, how is the gear change made, because obviously they're quite old vehicles, and to get the most out of them and treat them in a way that makes them last, you've got to have some mechanical sympathy. Alright, another one I get asked all the time about, holy shit, is parts availability. Obviously being not a Nissan or a Toyota, parts are going to be a little bit trickier to come by. You're not going to be able, for example, you're not going to be able to go into your local Repco or your local Super Cheap and get a set of brake pads off the shelf. In saying that, parts aren't actually difficult to get for these cars. You've just got to get them generally online from a few retailers around Australia. And also parts wise, like the range of parts available, you could almost build a whole Land Rover from the chassis to the panels to wiring harnesses, literally from parts bought online. So anything you can think of, you can pretty much buy online, and if you can't get it in Australia, you can definitely get it from the UK. For example, like you can buy whole new door tops, you can buy new doors, you can buy every single panel still brand new, like stamped. You can buy dash parts. There's just a huge range. Now in Australia we're pretty lucky, we do have some pretty good retailers that support the Land Rovers. Just to name a few, so you have kind of the knowledge to start looking if you're interested, would be LR Parts Shop down in Sydney. They're all online, but Matt and the team there, they have a huge range of parts and they can pretty much get you whatever you need. Another great one for more of the modified space would be Kingpin Fab and Design. Rick, he lives up in Queensland and he specialises in a lot of suspension and driveline components, and now actually engine conversions for Defenders. So a lot of the suspension kit under this car is all from Rick, and obviously he knows what he's doing. He's a great resource to have. Another one for kind of an all-round place to look at would be KLR Automotive. Now they kind of they started out on Perentes a long time ago, so they've got a lot of knowledge base and they've built some pretty cool Perentes over the years. So Brad and the team there, they're always good to give a call up and ask the questions and get the parts from. Heaps of knowledge in that team. Now I can't end this video without giving you guys a bit of insight into some of the future plans I have for the car. Obviously I've been a little bit quiet on the YouTube space, just running out of time between work and trips and editing, so give you guys a bit of an update. Now I've been working a lot offshore recently, so that's month on, month off. And to be fair, this break I was supposed to get a lot of maintenance jobs done on the Perentie, but I decided I needed a little bit of a holiday, and so I just went touring in it instead. Didn't end up filming any of that for YouTube, but I'll try and get back into that kind of grind and get some more content out for you guys. But looking ahead, so the plans are, I've got some diffs that I'm building at the moment to go under this car, and a little bit more suspension work to be done, as it's all getting a little bit tired and had a hard life, so I just want to do it once. It's staying Rover diffs, so not doing any crazy swaps, but I'm going to try and document and show you guys how to build the best Rover diffs possible and what components I'm using, how I'm going to achieve the strength and reliability that I'm chasing. So in saying that, those are some pretty big modifications that I've got to make. Moving forward from the mods side of things, I'm actually looking at shipping this car overseas. So that's kind of the grander vision, I'd say, is to ship this car overseas and start exploring other countries in it. I think that would make a pretty cool series to watch of just the Perentie getting toured around the world, and I'm really going to enjoy doing it and meeting new people. So first, I'm going to say it on here so I'm accountable for myself. The first spot where I'm going to target is New Zealand. I'm going to try and send the car over there and see what New Zealand tracks are like. Looks pretty unreal. Looks like Tasmania kind of on steroids. So yeah, very keen for that, and see how the whole journey goes. And hopefully from there we'll just get wilder and wilder. Ship it all across the world, and in my time off, fly to that country and drive the car around. So should be pretty interesting if I can pull it off. I don't know, it'd be sick to get a few more countries ticked off the Perentie's bucket list. And if you've got any, or if you're an overseas viewer and you think your country has some cool four driving, remote camping, really just getting out in the wilderness and exploring, let me know, and maybe we can even message privately, and you can give me a bit more information on where you're from. Alright, so another important topic to talk about is where the Perentie struggles. The main things I would say is the amount of noise they generate. They are very loud cars. Whether that's canvas flapping, the engine noise, just in general the lack of sound deadening, you're going to be wearing a set of these on the highway, guaranteed. There's not even no point putting a stereo in because you won't be able to hear it. So that's definitely something you've got to consider. Now, there are ways to quieten them down a little bit. You can sound deaden them, you can do hard top conversions, but if the sound and comfort is a real deal breaker, I don't think you should buy a Perentie, because you'll end up spending so much time and money trying to make it comfortable for yourself that you'll get to the point where you've kind of lost the charm of the Perentie. Now, what I mean is there's no sound deadening, there's no carpet in here, there's absolutely nothing. So when you do get stuck in a bog hole or go through a river crossing and it fills up with water, you literally don't have to care about anything. And that's where it shines. So keeping it as raw and as rugged is the best possible way to modify these cars. And if you want something more refined, start with a different, maybe like a TD5 Defender, a bit quieter. It's going to be easier to make super comfortable on the road, but it's not going to handle the off-road challenges as good as this thing will. Another area where I'd say this would struggle is highway speeds. Now, I've read it on the forums. People do 110, 120 in them. I don't believe that's very comfortable on myself, noise level wise, and how hard you're pushing the car. So personally, I like to cruise at about the 100 kilometre mark. Fuel economy is great. Noise isn't too crazy. You're not revving it too hard. And yeah, you get overtaken by everyone, but who cares? You're driving a 35-year-old car, and it honestly makes you look around, appreciate the scenery you're driving in more, and just enjoy the road trip. Now, super common criticism that I get is, oh, it's a LandRover, it must leak like crazy. So I'm going to show you that if you maintain your stuff, you don't actually have to put up with it. Now, look at that. It's got absolutely nothing. You can tell I haven't been under here recently cleaning anything. There's not a single, actually, I'm gonna lie, there's very slight wet patch there because I've got a crack in my front diff housing, but that is a crack in the metal. That's not really a leak. You can see bone dry. I'm sure a topic all of you guys want to know about is breakdowns. Now this car's only left me stranded once, and technically speaking, if I knew what I knew now, I could have driven it home. The only one time I broke something where I had to call a tow truck to get it back to my house was I broke a front half shaft towing a car trailer up a steep hill. Apart from that, touch wood, I've never had a major drama that I couldn't fix with the spares that I carry on board. So, reliability speaking, I personally think this is one of the most reliable four drives you can buy. Now that's a big claim, but the amount of shit I've put this car through, the amount of conditions that it's had to operate in, and for it to never even give me an inkling that it would have an issue is pretty unreal. So I stand by my claim, and if you've got a car out there that you've done the same amount of full driving in and is used in the way that this vehicle is used, let me know down in the comments and we can debate it. But I definitely think Land Rovers, especially with this in this configuration, shouldn't be treated as unreliable. In saying that, there are horror stories of some Land Rover engines, makes, models having their issues, as does every car. I'm the big believer of, if you've got an old four drive, no matter what make or model it is, it's going to require attention. It's going to require you do your regular checks. It's going to require you to be a little bit more mechanically minded and be able to have a look under the bonnet and think, oh yep, that looks loose, that needs topping up, that hose clamp needs tightening. Any make or model is going to need that. So if the stigma of reliability is what's holding you back from a Land Rover or a Perentie in general, I would say don't believe it. If I was starting out again and I just bought a Perentie that was in stock configuration, the top 5 mods I'd be spending my money on would be, firstly, power steering. It's a bolt-in upgrade. It makes a huge difference. You'll end up doing it down the line, so you may as well just do it at the start and enjoy it. Second would be a turbo. Obviously you have to do a clutch at the same time, but turbo will just increase the drivability of this car so much and you'll really enjoy getting out in it. The third would have to be fitting a good quality winch to the front of it. Fitting a winch to the front of the four drive just means you can have the confidence to, like I'm doing right now, go to a play area, point it up some hills that you don't know if you're going to get up, and if you get halfway or in a tricky situation, you can run a winch line up and safely recover the vehicle. Alright, fourth mod would probably have to be putting in a rear diff lock. Now this can be a mechanical locker or it can be an air locker. Pair that with some strong axles and you've got yourself an awesome four drive that will outdrive most other cars out there, and you'll really see what this thing's capable with just a rear locker. And then the fifth and final mod I would say is my bed setup in the back. Having the ability to just drive to anywhere, crawl into the back, stealth camp, doesn't matter if it's raining, windy, it means you get outside more, get out into the bush and you enjoy it, no matter what the weather is. Alright, well I'm going to hit the tracks, but if you got any other questions, let me know down in the comments. I'll try and answer as many as I can, and hopefully this video has been somewhat informative, and either given you the confidence to go look at a Perentie, or maybe made your mind up on it might not be the car for me. So anyway, hope to see you guys out there, and yeah, I really appreciate the support everyone gives me on these videos. It means a lot, motivates me to keep making them, and I'll try and keep the uploads a little bit more frequent from now on. See ya.